Welcome and hope you're doing well. We're going to talk about the 5 things we learned from Stevie Wonder and reveal those highs and lows. And hopefully it will inspire or even motivate you, as we only judge a person by their character, not race, color or religion. So please join our Multicultural family if you are new. My name is Bobby Said. I am the founder of the MS Show. As you can see from these articles, Stevie Wonder, who is part of the American cultural fabric for decades and didn't have an easy life then or now. Let's hear from Stevie Wonder's closest friend and UK agent Keith Harris. For many decades, as Stevie Wonder wasn't able to travel to the UK due to his other commitments, he represents the multicultural values we all share at Emma. So extremely grateful to Keith for delivering our awards to Stevie Wonder, whose talent is beyond genius, as is his humanity.
A major disappointment to you that Stevie can't be here himself. It was 40 years ago that he first had the hit that you just saw, Fingertips. And I'm very proud to say for the last 25 years, I've been a very good, close friend to him. And I can tell you that although he's not here, it is not the kind of thing that he's blasé about. He's very grateful and feels very happy to know that he's touched so many people. And I'm very pleased and very proud to receive this award on his behalf. Thank you very much.
Number 1, self-belief. Steveland Morris was born in Saginaw, Michigan on May the 13th, 1950. He was born 6 weeks premature, resulting in the condition called Retinopathy of Prematurity. The condition left him blind because the growth of the eyes is aborted and causes the retinas to detach. In the UK, about 65% of premature babies will have ROP. However, the majority of these babies will have mild ROP that doesn't require treatment. There are only around 6% of premature babies requiring it. At the age of 4, Stevie's parents divorced and he moved with his mother and siblings to Detroit, Michigan. He started singing as a child in the choir at Whitestone Baptist Church. Soon it became evident that Stevie was a child prodigy, playing a number of instruments from a young age, including the piano, harmonica, and the drums. At the early age of 11, he wrote his first album, The Jazz Soul of Little Stevie. Around this time, Stevie also attended the Michigan School for the Blind. In 1961, at 11 years old, Stevie had the chance to perform his own composition, Lonely Boy, to Ronnie White, co-founder of legendary rhythm and blues band, The Miracles. Ronnie White recognized excellence and took Stevie and his mother to the audition at the famous Motown Records, where CEO Barry Gordy signed him to Motown Tabla label. To this day, he praises Motown Records for its enormous contribution and support to black performers, creative and the music industry. Number 2, resilience. To make a living, Stevie and his mother were paid a weekly sum to cover their expenses, and he was provided with a private tutor for when they were on tour. Stevie was put in care of producer and songwriter Clarence Paul, and for a year they worked together on 2 albums, Tribute to Uncle Ray, which mainly covers Ray Charles' songs, and Jazz Soul of Little Stevie with original songs. However, both albums brought Stevie little success. But this was only the very beginning, and thanks to his talent and determination, other opportunities came knocking at his door. In fact, 1 year later, at 12 years old, Stevie joined Motown Revue, a number of concert tours of Motown artists. He began touring the Chitlin circuit, which was considered to be by and for the black community as a distinct marketable audience. This was a collection of venues throughout the United States that provided commercial and cultural support for African American musicians, comedians, and entertainers in the 1960s, during the era of racial segregation in the United States. The song Fingertips from the album became a major hit, reaching number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 when Stevie was age 13, making him the youngest artist ever to top the charts. The single was simultaneously number 1 on the R&B charts, the first time that had occurred. In September 1970, At 20 years old, Stevie married Sarita Wright, a songwriter and former Motown secretary. He indeed continued to create hit albums throughout the 70s, which were later acknowledged as his classic period. In March 1972, the 21-year-old released the album Music of My Mind. This was a full-length artistic statement with songs flowing thematically. The lyrics were powerful and expressed social and political issues. In late 1972, Stevie released another album, Talking Book, which included the hit song Superstition, which earned him 3 Grammy Awards. He released yet another album a year later, titled Inner Vision, which gave him another 3 Grammy Awards, including Album of the Year. While on tour in 1973, Stevie was in a serious car accident which left him in a coma for 4 days and resulted in partial loss of sense of smell and temporary loss of taste. Despite the setback, Stevie reappeared for a European tour in the early 1974. Performing in Cannes, London and Germany in 1975 was a significant year on a personal level, as he welcomed his first daughter, Aisha. He went on to have 8 more children and has gone on to marry 3 times. In 1975, Stevie performed at the historic Wonder Dream concert in Kingston, Jamaica. This was a charity concert for the Jamaican Institute for the Blind, an example of how Stevie has given back to his community by raising awareness on topics that are really discussed. Number 3, self-discipline. Towards the end of the 1970s, Stevie would go on to release yet another blockbuster album. In 1976, with another successful year, he released Songs in the Key of Life. The release this album allowed him to become the first American singer to debut straight to #1 in the Billboard charts, where it stood for 14 consecutive weeks. It includes his famous Isn't She Lovely, about his newborn daughter Aisha, and led him to win 2 other Grammys. The album is showcased as the 4th greatest album of all times by Rolling Stones. With the success of these albums, Stevie became the most acclaimed black musician by the end of the 1970s, as well as his accolades. This period has shown Stevie used his platform to promote African American culture, as well as break barriers and unite people through his music. During the 1980s, Stevie reached the peak of his fame with the release of the album such as Hotter Than July in 1980, which became the first platinum-selling album, and then Stevie Original Musicarium in 1982. This decade also saw him actively participate in social causes in 1980. He used the rendition of Happy Birthday to campaign for Martin Luther King's birthday to become a federal holiday in the US. The bill was eventually signed by President Ronald Reagan. Why should I be involved in this great cause? He said in 1981, "As an artist, my purpose is to communicate the message that can better improve the lives of all of us." Stevie has contributed countlessly to raise awareness of social justice and promote an inclusive society. In 1982, he also collaborated with Paul McCartney on the song Ebony and Ivory. The song was a celebration to racial harmony and reached #1 on both the UK and the US charts. In 1984, Stevie released the soundtrack album for the film Woman in Red. The lead single, I Just Called to Say I Love You, was #1 pop and R&B hit in both the US and the UK, and won him an Academy Award for Best Song. Significantly, he dedicated his 1985 Academy Award for Best Original Song to Nelson Mandela, who was in prison at the time. As a result, during apartheid era, the South African Broadcasting Corporation banned the song, but 1 year later, on his 35th birthday, Stevie was proudly honoured by the United Nations Special Committee Against Apartheid for his brave stance against racism in South Africa. Number 4, hard-working. Throughout the 90s, he continued to release new music, but at a slower pace. In 1997, Stevie Wonder and Babyface released a song called How Come, How Long to increase awareness about domestic violence. This is yet another example of him using music to support important public causes. In addition, he has supported many other organizations. He served on the US President Committee on Employment of People with Disabilities, and he has supported the Children's Diabetes Foundation and Junior Blind of America in 1998. He's also helped create Stevie Wonder's Vision Awards program designed to recognize products, people, and research that helps the visibility impaired and blind, a cause close to his heart. Stevie has been a long-time advocate for improving services for the blind and those with disabilities, and was named a United Nations Messenger of Peace in 2009. The then Secretary General Ban Ki-moon stated, "I recognize that he has consistently used his voice and special relationships with the public to create a better and more inclusive world, to defend civil and human rights, to improve the lives of those less fortunate. Stevie Wonder is a true inspiration to young people all over the world about what can be achieved despite any physical limitation." Number 5, passion. In June 2013, he continued his advocacy work, performing in Marrakesh in support of providing blind and visually impaired individuals around the world access to books. Approximately 50% of the world population, of which some 80% live in poor conditions, have some type of visual impairment. Stevie has made it possible to show that people with disabilities do have opportunities for education and work. In 2014, Stevie was given the well-earned Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian award in the United States. He returned to the Global Citizen Festival in 2017 alongside his son Kwame Morris. They addressed the political decision makers in the US and around the world on their responsibility to end global poverty, tackle climate change, and eliminate inequality by 2030. More recently, in October 2020, he released 2 new singles, whose proceeds went towards the organization Feeding America. Stevie has not remained silent during the pandemic of COVID-19. Together with Lady Gaga, Billie Eilish, and other stars, he took part in the One World Together at Home streaming event in April 2020. Organized by the Global Citizens, World Health Organization, and the United Nations, the goal was to raise funds for the COVID-19 Solidarity Response Fund of the World Health Organization. This incredible artist has proven his love for the world and the people in it through years of activism. He has encouraged millions of people throughout his time in the music industry to help those around us and to never give up. In summary, Stevie Wonder is this multicultural man we all know today as one of our Emma winners, and he has been a great advocate in fighting racial inequality. However, he has stated to Oprah Winfrey he wants to leave the United States after the murder of George Floyd, as he believes his children and then their grandchildren will still be subjected to this never-ending cycle of racism. Stevie has won 25 Grammy Awards as well as a Lifetime Achievement Award. His classic period albums, Inner Vision, Fulfillingness, First Final, and the songs In the Key of Life all won the Grammy Award for Album of the Year, making him a record holder as the only artist to have won the award with 3 consecutive albums. Stevie was the first Motown artist and second African-American musician to win the Academy Award for Best Original Song, which he won for his 1984 hit single, I Just Called to Say I Love You. He dedicated the victory to Nelson Mandela, who was in prison at the time. Why don't you leave us a comment and share your own thoughts about Stevie Wonder? Let us know if we have missed anything. Would you agree with Stevie Wonder that racism has got a lot worse, or that all the campaigns to tackle it have failed? This has led to his view that it's best to leave America to avoid those inequalities, as past overt racism has been replaced by covert racism as the norm. Would really appreciate a like or even a subscribe, and if possible, please donate on Patreon, however little the amount, to support the channel's ongoing mission to undertake multicultural campaigns. And remember, it's what's inside that counts, a motto we have used at the Emmas. As Stevie Wonder has proven, your vision in life and in music isn't handicapped by any blindness, as he has true 2020 vision that many sighted people don't have. So until next time, thank you for watching and keep it multicultural.